Well, the art scene, I think, is really rich here in Detroit, and it's really underground. It's not only photography or painting or sculpture, but it's music, and I think it's all those things together that gives us an edge over other cities.
This city is inspiring in so many ways. Visually, the legacy of the music, the history, the architecture, the diverse cultures that Detroit often gets overlooked for. There's so many different cultures here. So as an artist, there's so much to draw from. I mean, Detroit gave me a platform as an artist.
Detroit has an energy that's all its own. It's living, breathing, moving, walking, talking. There's a creative thing that happens just being in Detroit.
Detroit can be a great place for artists. There's a great art community.
Lots of writers, musicians, like lots of different artists in the community. And I don't know if people really notice that, because when you look at Detroit, you just see it as this kind of rundown town, but there's just so many amazing things coming out of it, and I don't think people realize that.
I think Detroit sets the standards in every form of the arts. But what happens is, you know, everybody in New York or LA is from somewhere else, right? So people say New York and LA, but a lot of them come from the Midwest, and a lot of it comes out of Detroit. Because anytime that you have, you know, you mentioned earlier that Detroit has a tough, gritty feel to it. Anytime that there's pain and struggle, there's beauty in that, and that's what art comes out of. Art doesn't come out of a simple leisure lifestyle.
If I wasn't in Detroit, I may not be able to create that type of work that I do. I think a lot of artists, musicians especially, that are in the city, that stay in the city, feel the same way. There is something about Detroit that makes them create, that gives them that energy.
Detroit is a breeding ground for talent. Everywhere you look, everywhere you turn, no matter what kind of artist it is, you can find them in Detroit and flourishing. There's just talent all over the place, and so that inspires me as an artist to do what I do, which is create.
Detroit has a very soulfulness about it. This is what I like about Detroit.
It breeds a lot of musicians, actors, artists. It has that, I guess, that type of character. It has a character that lets people experiment.
There's no BS kind of about your work here, because people don't have time for it.
We set a standard, we set a marquee, and we actually don't settle for anything less than what it is that we want when we do these things and when we go after doing these things. And I think that's one of the reasons why we end up being so great in being first, because that's what we want. We want good things. We don't settle for anything less.
As a filmmaker, it's just a big backdrop. I mean, I see these beautiful buildings. I mean, that's all I do is go to these locations and find these beautiful places, beautiful architecture, Albert Kahn buildings, you know, all these incredible places around the city. To me, it's the best backdrop in the world to shoot in. And I've, you know, shot many music videos in Harmony Park and Grand Circus Park, and people are like, "Oh, did you shoot that in New York? Which city did you shoot that in?" But shooting all these places in Detroit, I think, just you can't find them anywhere else, and I've convinced of that, and I've shot close to 17 music videos in downtown, and I just don't think it compares to anywhere else. I mean, I've brought artists from West Coast to shoot here. I've shot in the Michigan Theater, and there's just these incredible places. I mean, I think Detroit, it was the most, you know, it was the Mecca of the world for so long, and I think the architects and everyone that was here added so much flavor to it that it's never going to disappear.